to jump on here and just briefly talk about the word evidence-based, or I guess that's 2 words. Regardless, evidence-based is something that people always look for to be the best thing. Well, it's evidence-based, so, this is the one we use. This is the gold standard is another one. I have always struggled with those words, and I'll tell you why. Because evidence-based means that it's been studied. Well, funding only supports certain research. So just because something isn't evidence-based doesn't mean that it's not good. It doesn't mean, that something else is better than it because it's evidence-based. It means that it hasn't been studied yet. And if it has and been proven to be not as good, then fine. But regarding autism assessment and evidence-based, I'm just researching, I'm going through some of the latest research just to stay on top of what's going on in the autism field and late diagnosed adult autism field, and with level 1 autism versus other levels of support needs. And I'm finding just a few studies that they use the ADOS, it's the Autism Diagnostic Observation Schedule. And perhaps I am saying something that I shouldn't, but I can't not say it. The ADOS is considered the gold standard for autism. It is the Autism Diagnostic Observational Schedule. This means that you have to be able to see the autism. Now, I don't know about you, but I just don't believe that you can see autism, especially in women, highly masked women, BIPOC women. We now know that you just can't see it. So saying that the ADOS is the gold standard and then doing research on it and using it because it's the gold standard does not mean that it's the best way to study autism or diagnose autism. And I know a lot of people who are seeking assessments will say, oh, well, do you use the ADOS? But I don't know that people recognize what evidence-based really means. And it's really hard for me to accept that word for some reason. Evidence-based, gold standard, based on which population? Was it standardized on the autistic population? Was it standardized on, I don't know, 50-year-old white men or something like that? I'm not saying that evidence-based is not good. I'm not saying that we shouldn't use evidence to support treatments or assessments, etc. I'm just sort of saying that people should use caution when automatically going for evidence-based or gold standard and search a little deeper to understand gold standard for what? Gold standard with what population? Evidence-based because it was the only study funded, or evidence-based because it truly works for a certain population? So, for instance, a lot of people who are late diagnosed autistic talk about the difficulties of DBT and CBT, dialectical behavioral therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, because they're evidence-based treatments, and so they're supposed to work, but they're not normed on the autistic population. And so when autistic individuals, they can be very minimizing to what the person is going through, and it might not work on the autistic population the way that it does on a non-autistic population. And so when we say that these are evidence-based therapies, evidence-based for whom? And I think part of the potential for harm is that when you take someone who is autistic and you give them a evidence-based or gold standard therapy and it doesn't work for them, then there's something wrong with them. They're not trying hard enough. And I think that's something that needs to be said and something we need to think about more in the field.